Have you ever wondered how quickly you could speedrun Pokemon Fire Red with only letter E Pokemon? Because do I have a solution for you. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be speedrunning Pokemon Fire Red / Leaf Green in our speedrun letter challenge, and today's going to be the letter E.
E.
I'm your host, Zeej, and we're going to start this video off, as we start all the videos off, got to give ourselves a name to start the naming convention. We're going to name ourselves Ephraim because it's a weird E name. It's kind of what I'm going for here. Shout out to all the Ephraims in the audience. I love Ephraim. There's a saint named Ephraim. But personally, I've never met a single Ephraim in my entire life. And as we begin our journey, Professor Oak takes us into his lab like a good old pedo he is. And we pick up a nice little Exeggcute. So we put Exeggcute in Bulbasaur's spot this time. Grass, you know what I mean? One's psychic, one's poison. But I think it's going to be a decent swap. And I typically never use Exeggcute, to be entirely honest. So we have to use Exeggcute at least until we get access to the Leaf Stone, which is in Celadon. And we name our little Exeggcute Eustace because, again, that is a weird E name, and I don't know anybody named Eustace. The first battle, we see our moves. Barrage, Uproar, and Hypnosis. Seems really great until you use Barrage. And then you realize that it does, 2 damage, 3 damage? Uproar does a little bit more, which is good, but you're set in using Uproar. So when they wake up after getting hypnotized and put to sleep, because Uproar wakes up sleeping Pokemon, you're still in the same situation? Like, who thought of this moveset? The Hypnosis to Uproar pipeline? What are we talking about here? That's going to be an issue for a little bit later, but as for right now, we can safely run away, which is pretty good. I figured Exeggcute was going to be slow enough to maybe get caught by the Rosadas or even the Pidgeys, but looks like, yeah, we're in good standing right now. Just to go through some recap for A through D already. A took about 29, just under 29 hours. B took just under 15, C took just over 15, and D ended up taking about just under 19. I'm hoping E can have a pretty strong performance. Some of the major players I'm looking at, we have Electabuzz, pretty big, pretty bulky, pretty specially attack strong, and gets the Thunder Punch. That's 100% accurate, 75 base power electric move, electric stab. So that's pretty huge, as well as once we get to Celadon to get Eustace evolved, we can have Stab Psychics and Giga Drains potentially, and we also have Hypnosis. So we could do Sleep Strats, we could do a few different things, Leech Seed on top of that, gain back some health. So hopefully we can breeze through this early game and then just snowball, to be entirely honest. Electabuzz is likely going to be good into the first Elite Four member, Lorelei. And then we're going to have to switch over to Exeggcute. I think it's going to have to be a 2-pronged attack here. And then we go Grass moves, Giga Drains. For Bruno, then we probably keep the Exeggcute out to Psychic down all of Agatha. Which brings us to Lance, and then we switch back in our Electabuzz, and that's only because everybody's all flying, so it should be easy. And then the champ is just a variety trainer, which between my Exeggutor and Electabuzz, it's gonna be cake. Of course it's gonna be cake. So, realistically, I think our target is going to be maybe sub 20 is kind of what I'm looking at here. I mean, Electabuzz and Exeggcute aren't that great, but they're not bad. And they have decent typing in the Elite Four. So, I think that's what our target's going to be for this run. Enough of that jibber jabber. Let's check back in with the cracked eggs. Eustace, my boy. So he's using Barrage, and he looks like he can kill a level 2 Rattata, but, I mean, in the background, he's been getting his shit pieced up. Oh my god. Has he been getting absolutely flamed by Weedles and Caterpies? Yeah, it seems like Uproar having 10 PP is not ideal, and Uproar having maybe, I think it's 40 base damage and a normal move, which is not stab for an execute, is not the best. So that comes with a lot of issues, and he's also not leveling up very fast. So after a little bit, we just say F it and head right into Viridian Forest. What's the worst that could happen? We die a bunch? I doubt it, but we don't know how we're going to fare against Weedles and Caterpies. We get caught with a Metapod at first, and that actually ends up being pretty good for us, so we can get an XP spike. Like, just the poison sting from the Weedles, and then the poison on top. Naturally. I just can't win. Level 3 Weedles kick my ass. That's just how it is. So we have to keep training on these level 2, level 3s, ideally Rattatas and Pidgeys, but even further than that, ideally Rattatas, because Pidgeys only know tackle, at least Rattatas can not do damage. Like, bro's a cracked egg on the floor. He doesn't need more damage. We do end up getting Reflect at level 7 though, which would be decent, except the Weedle that we went to go face crit and then poisoned, and we died anyway? So that was, let's just call that one a damage test run. We're just gonna keep kind of banging our head against this wall because I think it might be able to work. So this time we're gonna lead with Reflect, and hopefully we can block some of the incoming damage so we can live and drop at least the first Weedle. Weedle's gonna use Poison Sting for 7 damage, and we get poisoned, so it Reflect did nothing for us, and we got poisoned. That's so hot. We got 1 crit on Barrage for a 3-hit, and we do less than half of Weedle's full health at level 6. We suck. This is going to be way harder than I thought. Oh my god. Unfortunately, we're at that point in the game where it's too early to have different strategies that may or may not work, and we just gotta keep leveling up. There's no other way to go about it. So we just gotta keep banging our head against this wall and seeing if Execute can live through the forest for long enough to get to the other side. Come on, baby. Give him the work with Barrage. No, not the poison sting! Oh, we're good. So I think now is as good a time as ever to go over the rules again. So, rule number 1, you can only use Pokemon with a name starting with the challenge letter. Pretty straightforward, and we're doing E today. Rule number 2, I can use rare candies to level up Pokemon to the current gym's Ace level, or until the Pokemon evolves and meets the naming criteria. So we've seen this with A, such as the Ekans to Arbok. I could use rare candies to evolve into Arbok, but only up until the next gym leader's Ace. I won't be allowed to sell any items other than the sell-only items for Rule 3. Those would include things like Stardust or Nuggets. Their only purpose is to actually be sold for Poké-Dollars. Rule number 4, I have to catch a Pokemon from each evolution line in the challenge. Again, I kind of went over this previously in another video where I explained I don't think getting to each Pokemon is necessarily going to be the most fun or of the most value. A prime example being Diglett to Dugtrio. I'm not planning on using Dugtrio in the Elite Four, and I think evolving Diglett to Dugtrio is kind of a waste. Similar like a Doduo to a Dodrio. I don't plan on using them because I already have Dragonite at that point, so they're really just not value-added members. But in the spirit of the run, I do want to catch at least one from every line that starts with the letter. Our 5th rule is going to be no items in battle and play on set mode. So this is kind of another Nuzlocke rule that we take, but for each run I've been doing no items in battle. I think it's a truer way to play, and to play on set mode so you don't gain tempo if you are able to switch. I think that's the most appropriate for the situation. Our last rule, Rule 6, is going to be no saving in between Elite Four members. I've been doing this the whole time, and I'm just adding it now technically to the rules because I wanted to outline it and make sure that I have it listed somewhere. But I think going through the Elite Four members straight shot is going to be, again, the most true way to do it. There could be extenuating circumstances where they can't make it through and it's completely luck-based, but we're going to have to cross that bridge when we get there. So, a little while later, we skip ahead to Brock. And Brock has his level 12 Geodude and level 14 Onix. We have one crucial new move in Leech Seed. So, the strat, as you can expect, is we are going to try and spray our seed all over Geodude's face. Just constantly. He dodged the first one, but the second one, that's where we land our money shot. Ultimately, we're going to end up using Reflect to block the attacks, or decrease the attack power. We're going to use Leech Seed, spray our seed all over him, so we can get that passive recovery. Hypnosis, put him straight to sleep, so he can't do anything about it. And then Barrage, which does, no damage, essentially, to these rock types because their defense is so high. But it is a multi-turn attack, so we do get the bonus of doing at least 2x what the minimum amount of damage is, which is like 1 or 2 I think we're doing right now, technically. So we have a chance to do, theoretically, Geodude's going to take maybe 4 to 10 damage, but Onix is higher defense, so we only do 1 at a time. Ultimately, this fight is not that hard with Leech Seed and Hypnosis, so we're just going to rinse and repeat, just let it slowly die, and barrage it out. Brock ends up being finished for Execute at around 2.5 in-game time. 2.5 hours in-game time, that's about 5 times-ish slower than the letter C at that point, and way better than letter A. So, we all know how bad A was. So we're about half as time as D. It could square up to be something nice. Good run. Clean run. As you can see, we tried to fight the rival, and it ended very poorly. Holy shit. That was bad. Luckily, we can go fight Misty first. So we run into Misty's gym. We go fight all the water types. Because now, in Mount Moon, we ended up picking up Bullet Seed. Bullet Seed's the first TM on the left-hand side when you walk in. And that's a stab grass type move. And it's similar to Barrage, where it's a potential of 5 hits. So hopefully these are going to work very well against Misty's water types. The one thing I am worried about is Starmie is actually just stupid strong. And Water Pulse is a 60 base power special move. So it could just go poorly. Or it could confuse us and go even more horribly wrong. We could just drown. How about that? As you can see, we took down Staryu in a snap. Super easy. Hypnosis the Starmie, puts him to sleep. Spray our seed all over Starmie's little gem. And we get confused. Okay, so here is going to be a common problem. Because Water Pulse does about 13 damage. But the confusion is really what's going to catch us here. Yeah, we hit ourselves in confusion twice. We took a lot of damage where we didn't need to take any damage. And we could have essentially killed Starmie right there. So I think the best move is just go right back in and try and, one, get that time low. But also, I think it's the best move for us because we still really can't kill that Pidgeotto effectively without a little bit of luck. So this time, Sleep Staryu again, Bullet Seed, drop the Leech Seed, but not really necessary. Gonna Hypnosis again, miss, Hypnosis again, finally hit, spray my seed all over it, bang, bang. And that was a 4-time hit with Bullet Seed. 4x hit with Bullet Seed. They don't use Super Potion, which is great. We were right out of healing range. And then we were able to finish up with the Bullet Seed. So, Misty goes down pretty easily. And after a lot more time, we come back. We ran through, ended up completing the rival, ended up going to SSN, came back for Ekans. Don't ask me why I did it in this order. I don't really remember. But what I can say is that running up and down and catching Ekans is not going to add much time, maybe 5 in-game minutes, so really not an issue here. What I am going to do, though, is name Ekans Eeyore, because there's only one Eeyore I've ever heard of and that dude lives in Thousand Acre Woods. So while we get him, he's now on our team, and we're heading straight to Surge at this point, level 32, and we kind of have our strat down. Now that we have Confusion, everything gets a lot easier. We're a special attacker, it's Stab Psychic. Great thing for us. What we still want to do is set up Leech Seed, though, because Raichu is relatively strong, although electric moves are not very effective against our grass typing. So we do have the advantage, but we just want to make sure that we can get this done. The double teams that they set up in the beginning didn't really matter. We were eventually going to win anyway, so ultimately a non-factor to us. While we move on, we head straight to Celadon, so we can now pick up the Leaf Stone, which is great, so we can evolve, but also we can pick up our next team member, Eevee. Now, despite the way that it looks, Eevee just a great Pokemon to evolve into other things. It's not very good on its own. We are not really going to be using the boy, unfortunately, but great Pokemon. We end up naming Eevee Eggman because Dr. Eggman with Sonic just popped into my mind. There's literally no other reason. I wasn't watching the Sonic movie or thinking about Sonic. It just naturally occurred, which could be indicative of some type of issue, but I'm gonna claim that I'm okay. I'm just gonna say I'm all right and move on from this. And yeah, as you can see here, we're just gonna pick up the Leaf Stone while we're here. We end up beating Surge in about 8 hours and 17 minutes in game time. So we are definitely keeping a nice slow pace, unfortunately. But again, we now have a Leaf Stone, so we're about to level up, and we're, I guess, not too close to learning Surf, but ultimately we should be able to get Electabuzz not too late in the game, so that should also help us. We're just gonna have to wait and find out. On screen, we are absolutely curb stomping all of Erica's trainers, and soon to be Erica, because in this game, they love to tie grass and poison together, which means the one grass psychic type that they have in the game is going to tear through with Confusion. And some of you may be wondering why I still have an Execute if I have a Leaf Stone and I can get an Exeggutor. And that's because I am currently under the belief that it takes more experience to level up Exeggutor than it does Execute. Now, after doing some research, it looks like they're both in the slow level up group, so because they don't change, it's probably likely that they actually just take the same amount of experience, but being under this impression, that's why I'm doing that at the moment. And as the prophecy foretold, we're jumping into Erica. It is extremely simple. I didn't even go back and heal. I'm just cranking away Confusions, and they're getting knocked down. Super simple. Tangela actually took a hit. Good for her. That's impressive, I guess. And there you go. After using a few bullet seeds to knock it down, a few health, I end up just confusioning it because it didn't kill it in the first place. Right after Erica, we're just going to skip ahead to go to Koga. Running down to Koga, nothing really happened. It just took, honestly, quite a bit of time because there's so many trainers. And I don't have very strong moves, especially not ones that are high base power or good in everything that I was fighting. Koga, not really a problem as you expected. Erica wasn't a problem with her grass poison types. Koga's not a problem with his poison types. It was just a barrage of Confusions, and we were in and out momentarily. So, super simple right there. Now we officially can use the Surf that we picked up in the Safari Zone to find our next two teammates, Electrode and Electabuzz. Electrode is great. Well, he just self-destructed on me, so not that great. But, getting back to what I was saying, Electrode is great as a quick hit, strong hit, and then die, which is not really what I want to see. It's not really what I want on my team. Whoever needs to go to the Elite Four needs to have some bulk. The odds of us getting into every single matchup, outspeeding, and then one-shotting, and not taking a hit in return is actually 0%. Electrode would not be able to do that. Very quick, very strong, but would not be able to do that. So you either need to be good in every matchup, which Electrode is not, or you need to have some bulk to you. So Electrode, I think, is going to be out. Also, Electabuzz starts with Thunder Punch, and Thunder Punch is goated, unless you're using it on Hitmonchan, in which case it's butthole. Just caught the Electrode, and we're actually going to end up naming the Electrode Elsa, the Frozen Queen, Queen of Ice, the Snow Queen. She's one of them, because we're just letting Electro go. No, we're not actually. We need to keep him on the team, but he's not going to be really participating at all. And luckily for us, right afterwards, we end up finding our Electabuzz. So put him to sleep, drop some seed. God, I love dropping seed. And then end up catching him real quick. We got one Great Ball left. Don't know if it's going to do the trick. And yes, it does. Yes, sir. And we end up naming him Edna. Yes, I have just decreed that Edna is now a gender-neutral name. That being said, I haven't seen Incredibles 2. Heard it was gas, but never got around to it. Gonna have to look into that at some point. For now, we're gonna save in front of Blaine and show that we got about 14.5 in-game hours as we run up on him. And just trying to drop a few bodies with this Thunder Punch. And it's looking... Ooh, that Fire Blast is not looking good for us anymore. Rapidash probably going to kill us. Yeah, we get stomped on. Little curb stomp for us, but we drop a static on the way out. So they are paralyzed. Bringing Eustace in. Eustace now at 52. Still didn't teach him. Still getting value out of Confusion and the amount of PP that it has, which is a good thing. We're going to try and Hypnosis the Arcanine to put him to sleep consistently, but he immediately wakes up and hits us with a Fire Blast down to 10 health. So thanks for that one, asshole. Ultimately, we end up winning because he stays asleep for 2 turns, and we drop a Leech Seed, and we just hit him with some Confusions. Thank God, because we could not survive another Fire Blast. And that had the opportunity to be hell. Thankfully, it wasn't. Now we move on to Sabrina. Sabrina, we're going to try and use, again, Edna in this case, or Electabuzz. I try to make a big brain play and put Thunderbolt in place of Thunder Punch. So, because Psychic types are generally physically frail, wow, that's quite a tongue twister. Going to try and use Swift for most of it, but all of our electric moves also do pretty well into this. Ultimately, not a problem. Moving to Giovanni, we still have Bullet Seed. What a great move. But it is going to get the job done in this case with Confusion. Because they either have the ground poison type in Nidoking, Nidoqueen, which Confusion can handle, or everybody except, actually, they only have 2 Rhyhorns, which is going to be quad effective to the Bullet Seed. And then they have the Dugtrio, who is so frail, it's unbelievable. So the 2x effectiveness is just going to work against the Bullet Seed. Now, here's where it starts to get fun. We move ahead to the Elite Four. First Elite Four member is Lorelei. Clearly, we are going to lead with Electabuzz. And now that we've replaced our Thunder Punch with Thunderbolt, we're just going to essentially spam Thunderbolts, hoping that it kills everyone. So far, we're 3 for 3. Lapras doesn't get a one-shot, but the Citrus Berry puts him out of healing range, so we finish him off. We Stutter Step at the Jinx, and as soon as we think she took the bait for the crossover, we hit her with a Swift. It does almost half, which is good, but she hits us with both Sleep and Attract. So we switch into Eeyore to break the Attract, and then put Edna back in. We wake up from sleep, Attract it again, so we're going to switch out to Eggman. Maybe Eggman can get a move off. Yeah, dies instantly, as expected. Then we go back to Edna one more time. Hopefully, there's no Attract this time. So we're going to try Swift again. Sleep, fine. We're going to go through Sleep. Try Thunderbolt maybe, just to get it over with. She gets static, so now we move first, and she might not be able to attack. Luckily, we wake up from sleep, and we Thunderbolt. So, We actually beat Lorelei first try. Way better than I anticipated going into it, so that's a fantastic sign. We switch Exeggutor to the front of the line for this. His moveset is now Giga Drain, Psychic, Leech Seed, and Hypnosis, which hopefully this can do us some good here. Giga Drain, both the Onyxes, is going to be the tech there. Psychic for all of the fighting types, most obviously. We don't one-shot Hitmonlee after one-shotting Onyx and Hitmonchan. Okay, maybe it was a range because they full restored and then we got him for a one-shot. Giga Drain back all the life we took from that Mega Kick. And we don't one-shot Machamp. If we didn't one-shot Hitmonlee, I didn't expect it. But again, Citrus Berry takes him out of healing range. So we end up killing him on the next Psychic. For the Agatha fight, all of her Pokemon are Poison, most are Ghost. So we're going to keep Exeggutor out front. One-shot Psychic on the first Gengar, great sign. One-shot Psychic on the Arbok, another great sign. We're doing so well. And for this Gengar, I think what we want to do, because he has a Citrus Berry and likely much stronger Hypnosis, we each miss a Hypnosis, but mine lands first on the second round of attacks. Drop a Leech Seed, hit a Giga Drain, and then Psychic. So in that order, we were able to take him out, take no damage. And now that he brings out Golbat, we're going to switch into our Electabuzz, drop a Thunderbolt. Nice and easy. And then Haunter actually curses himself and he was hit with Thunderbolt. So he ends up killing himself, which very gracious. Normally I like taking those kills myself, but he was left on 1 HP. So I'll take what I can get. So here's the strat. Gyarados comes out first for Lance. Electabuzz takes him out with a Thunderbolt. Then they send out Dragonair. Thunderbolt is not very effective against Dragonairs. So we try one, try two. It's looking pretty bad right now. End up going to Screech. This is why we kept Screech. So we can drop that defense by 2 stages, and hopefully the Swift will do the damage when Thunderbolt can't. Looks like we're going to need 2 Screeches to 2-shot the Dragonairs. And then Dragonite just Hyper Beams and kills us. Now, Dragonite is going to have a Restore turn, so I think we're going to take this time to attempt to drop a Leech Seed. Oh, missed it. Okay. But we hit the second time, and we die. Okay. So it looks like we're going to be stuck at this Lance fight for quite some time. Dragonite has Wing Attack, which is super effective against our Exeggutor, and Thunderbolt is not very effective against both Dragon types, and it'll be normally effective against Dragonite. Okay, so I don't really know what we're going to do for the solution yet, but at this point, I mean, we made it through the first 3 out of 4 of the Elite Four members. So I'm thinking the best strat to level up to give us a better chance against Lance is to just keep running it through and see how long that takes. I don't think it should be that long. As you can see, Thunderbolts are really crushing Lorelei. I think the one thing that we're going to struggle with is that typically when we only have one Pokemon, they're getting all of the XP from each Elite Four member. In this case, both of these Pokemon are essentially getting 1.5 Elite Four members worth of XP. So, I mean, that is the problem that stems from having this 2-pronged attack or 2 Pokemon attack. They're good into the majority of the Elite Four members, but the one is really crushing them. So, we'll see how quickly we can level up. I hope it doesn't take that long. But we did a lot of planning at the front. It took us very long to get through the beginning of the game. At this point, I don't know. It's really up to leveling. I don't know if there's a better strategy out there. There could be, or maybe I'm just getting extremely unlucky on the Lance fights. But as for right now, I think we're just going to keep continuing to go through. Again, this is the second run. We're still doing better. I mean, we're not changing our ranges. We're not changing our damage profiles quite yet. So we are still maintaining that good area, although this Gengar is getting quite close to killing. Okay. So we were able to one-shot Psychic with that. And then the rest of the Golbat and Haunter shouldn't be a problem for this. Yeah, perfect. Okay, Haunter does actually fall now that we gained 1 level. So we should be good there. And just like that, we're back to Lance. Let's see if 1 more level on each Electabuzz and Exeggutor make the difference here. So we set up the light screen. First thing, we actually get a static Paralyze on the Dragonair, which is very good. Screech doesn't get it down to half for 1 Swift, but it hurts itself in Confusion after Outrage, so that's really nice. Paralyzes us, that's no fun. We set up another light screen so we can minimize that Outrage damage. 1 Screech got in. Looking for Screech 2, there you go. Now we can 2-shot Swift or 1-shot from the Confusion damage. I didn't know we were going to do that much. And here we are at the problem once again. Hyper Beam directly on Electabuzz, which means recharge turn. So we set up Leech Seed, hit it first time. Great to see it. Hypnosis, hit that too. And now I'm going to Psychic. So we should get healed Citrus Berry minus Leech Seed in another Psychic. Then Leech Seed, bang. Okay, perfect. Great spot here. So now we're between 1 Psychic, Leech Seed, Hypnosis, and Giga Drain. What I think we want to do is go to Hypnosis. You know what? Why do I even talk? What's the point? Crit Wing Attack kills me instantly. Why do I even try? Why do I even try? Alright, so this is going to be a wash, this run. And we'll just have to run it back. See if we can get better luck next time. Alright, not quite sure if you noted the level of the Electabuzz and Exeggutor going into this fight, but we skipped ahead a bit. So we are now level 80, which we were level 68 the last time we were running this. So skipped a reasonable portion of this. Some of the issues were when we gained levels into that 72 to 76 range, our ranges changed. And the typical failure mechanism for all of the runs was consistently the Dragonite and Aerodactyl. There was never any compromise on that. The Hyper Beam would constantly knock out one of the Pokemon. It would recharge, typically going into Exeggutor as last time. And then Exeggutor would just get smacked down by Wing Attack. We kind of have the Elite Four run down to a science at this point, or at least for the first 3 Elite Four members. Yeah, I mean, the Electabuzz takes care of Lorelei entirely, and again, we're strong enough to even one-shot the Jinx with Thunderbolt at this point, and the Lapras with Thunderbolt at this point. Then Exeggutor comes in to do the dual Giga Drain, one-shot with Psychic on the other 3. Exeggutor comes in to start Agatha for Psychic, Psychic, Psychic. Once Golbat comes out, then we switch over to Electabuzz, and we collect the rest of the XP with Electabuzz and his Thunderbolts. So that split gives us a decent PP range for each of our moves so that we can have enough going into Lance and minimize our Ether/Elixir use, because that was also a concern for us. Was I ran out. To be entirely honest, I used up all of the typical Ethers and Elixirs that I grab along the way, and then I actually had to look up the locations and whereabouts of more Ethers and Elixirs in the game that I typically don't go to get. Because, as you would expect, if I'm doing this well and getting the Lance, and eventually I do beat Lance, I'm going to use them on the champ. The champ would beat me down, or Lance would beat me down, and I would already have like an Ether used on Psychics, so I can have them for Aerodactyl, or more for Dragonite, or something of the sort. The other thing I did was I taught Brick Break to Electabuzz. Just figured it was a stronger move than Swift, and I don't think Swift is gaining value because not enough people are using Double Team at this point to where it could miss. So I have that, although it doesn't really do much for us, because now I'm just spamming Thunderbolts on Dragonite, hoping for a Paralyze. In this case, the tech that we did find to do for Aerodactyl was a combination of Hypnosis, Leech Seed, but we need to get Exeggutor in at full health. That's the key. So hope we would constantly be doing this song and dance with how far can Electabuzz get, because if Exeggutor comes out before with not enough health, going into Aerodactyl, then he's just going to wing attack and crush us. Not even close. Alright, finally we beat the champ, and we're here. So, Thunderbolt on Pidgeot. Obvious, makes perfect sense. Super simple. Next thing we do is we actually switch an Eeyore on the Rhydon, so that we can get the free switch into Exeggutor, so we can Giga Drain and then drop him all one shot. Now we switch into Eggman to hopefully get the free switch into Electabuzz because the Gyarados came out. So we Thunderbolt, Gyarados we know is a one-shot, 4x effective. Alakazam comes out. We instantly Thunderbolt, take it out. Exeggutor comes out. We got a problem. Their Exeggutor is a wall for us, and is again a massive part as to why we failed for so long. It has Sleep Powder, has Giga Drain, it has Egg Bomb. Egg Bomb is a surprisingly good move at this stage in the game. So what we do is we actually go Exeggutor on Exeggutor action, as I referenced earlier. Leech Seed doesn't affect Exeggutor, so we need to have enough Psychics up to kill it. And killing it's not that easy because the champ has about 5 full restores. So if you miss your range, and I don't have Leech Seed to be available because it's a Grass-type Pokemon, you can't Leech Seed Grass-type Pokemon, then you're stuck. Especially when I come into the fight with only 4 Psychic PP left. It's a huge issue. Charizard at the end was really a non-factor, even though we did keep him alive for quite a while and set up the light screen. It really didn't matter, we just Thunderbolted him down because we had one left and we're level 83 at that point. Compared to the Charizard's 63, so that's 20 level bump. To be entirely honest, wrapping up this video, I think a lot more things could have gone my way, but I wasn't expecting a 27-24 finish. That is 1.5 hours better than the A line due to Abra. Like, this was a monumentally bad run. So I can't really blame it on a few things went wrong or I took too much time. I couldn't find a place in the video where I really stopped for an extended period of time that would soak up a lot of time, because as you can see from the graph, it was all just Elite Four time. Like, we had to run through, and again, just restating, we had to gain 12 levels to be within the right ranges, to be strong enough to one-shot and maintain that PP. I think the graph tells a beautiful story of love and loss. D is more or less linear through badges 1 through 8, whereas I would say it's kind of logarithmic or more logarithmic for E into just an exponential jump. That's just ridiculous towards the final. But what can I say? It's definitely one for the books, and maybe even one to redo at this point. Maybe I can get it down, maybe I can get better luck, I don't really know. Last thing to do, as everybody knows, is to rank it. And where do you really rank E? If it comes in over 25 in-game hours, I don't think there's any place it could be other than D tier. Now, the only question is, do we put it above A or below A? And honestly, I think it's got to go above A. It was a little bit better, and Abra is so abysmal at the start that Alakazam really just can't make up for it, even though Alakazam was a ton of fun to use. Especially after how well the first Elite Four run went, it just kind of feels a little defeating. And again, maybe it's up for a rerun because there were a lot of things that I could have done or trimmed some time here and there, but ultimately, right now, I gotta put it at D tier. Alright guys, thanks. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.
Siege out.